Hi everybody, welcome back to Video Game Esoterica, another episode of the Unported playlist where I take a look at some of my favorite unported arcade games of all time. Today we're taking a look at Cowboys of Moo Mesa. Now this is based on an animated cartoon series and I know absolutely nothing about it. I do not remember this existing when I was a kid. I never came across it. What I do know is you're playing as a cow in a Konami run and gun style game like Sunset Riders. Before I get too far involved though, if you could do me a huge favor, go down below, hit like and subscribe, ring that notification bell. Definitely helps us out. And if you feel so inclined, we got a Patreon link down there as well. And I love this game too because it even comes with the Cowboys of Moo Mesa theme song, and it is pretty hilarious. But outside of the fact that this is a strange game because you are playing as a cow who holds the gun, it is an absolutely amazing run and gun game. It almost feels like a light beat 'em up because you can strike people, but if you've ever played Sunset Riders, you're definitely going to know exactly what's going on with this game. You get 4 cows at the beginning that you can choose from. They don't really change the game too much, but you actually get a decent amount of story in the game, and I'm sure that's because it was based on an existing property. But now as we get into the game, you're going to see exactly what it's about. You can dash or charge forward, and you have a gun. You're going to be picking up different power-ups along the way, but it really is just a move left to right, run and gun, shooting style game. But Konami was obviously very familiar with that sort of concept and genre, so you're definitely going to get a lot of fun out of this. And it's actually a relatively long game as well. There's 5 stages plus the ending and the beginning, so there's definitely a lot of content in here for you. Especially considering the fact that obviously this was never ported, it's really going to be the only way you can play the game, but you can sit down and definitely spend, close-ish to 45 minutes to an hour playing this depending on how good you are. Like everything Konami, they did great with this sort of genre. I love the colors, I love the bosses, the music, everything about it looks and sounds and plays extremely well, because in the 90s, Konami was just excellent at making this type of game. And the bosses are actually pretty hard, although fair. Pattern recognition is going to be the name of the game in this. You can see that I jumped over that little grappling hook and then ducked underneath it. Once you learn how the bosses move, it's actually relatively easy to beat them. But of course, on your first playthrough, you're not going to know how that works. So it's definitely the type of game that you can get better at as you play more and more. And you'll see that I've already beaten the first boss. But this game, of course, it's one of those weird games too because you are playing as anthropomorphic cows that are fighting enemies. And anytime that happens, I know we've talked about Ninja Baseball Batman on the channel before and how strange the art in that game is. It's definitely the same thing here, but I like that because, this isn't that much stranger than playing something like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. It's as easy to believe that you can play a game as a cow as you can play as a turtle, but for some reason this is always listed under those weird games category, and to me that doesn't really seem fair. You'll see here we're going to go fight 5-card stud, and everything is basically a tongue-in-cheek cow joke. Even when you die, you're going to end up as a ribeye or T-bone grilled steak at the bottom of the screen before you come back, which I guess to a cow is probably the worst thing you can end up as steak. I like them, but if I was a cow I probably wouldn't. But each stage has its own diversity. We're on a train car here, and weirdly, the stage is fun, but there's not that many enemies on it, so everything is going to be a little bit different. But soon we're going to be showing you the other mechanic of the game, because this isn't just a pure run and gun, but I kind of want to keep that slightly a secret till we get to it, not talk about it first. But again, with the boss battle, every boss battle is different, it's unique, it has something going on for it, and there's more patterns to learn. And you'll see that 5-card stud here is going to shoot some cards out, and if you can hit that leading card, you can destroy the entire line of projectiles and make yourself safer. It's not easy, and they're always coming at an angle that makes it quite hard, but you can definitely learn how to do it. And as the boss fights go on in certain stages, you're going to see here that platform swinging and gives us an extra mechanic that we need to worry about when we're trying to avoid things. So pretty much every stage, no matter what order you play them in, is always going to be giving you something different to do. And I love all the different settings that this game takes into account. Now we're going against Boot Hill Buzzard, and we're going to basically be in a graveyard setting, and we now have ghost cows that are just sheets floating in the air. And I've never really thought about a ghost cow before, but Cowboys of Moo Mesa definitely has it covered for you if that's something you're into, which I don't know who would be, but either way, I just love the environments in this game. There's always something different to look at and something going on. And Konami was great at making really colorful games like this. Simpsons Arcade, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Cowboys of Moo Mesa. They all have their own distinct look, but they all have this really vibrant color pattern, kind of using those pinks and purples and blues. It just really goes together. And a lot of the sprite work is excellent too. You now have what I assume is just a ectoplasm ghost cow coming out at you, and there's just a lot to see and to look at. But additionally, the soundtrack is quite good too, so I'm going to let you listen to it for about a minute, then I'll come back and tell you what else this game actually has going on for it, because it isn't just a run and gun, there's a little bit more to it, but I'll be right back. Why him indeed. But now moving on, you're going to see that this game is also a shmup. There's an entire stage in the game dedicated to the shmup mechanic. And if you really think about it, a run and gun is just a shmup without flying, so it's not that strange that they included it in this game, but it does break things up enough to kind of give you something different to do. Because this game is long enough where if you're just completing the same stage over and over again with the same mechanics, it might get a little boring, so I do like the fact that the developers at Konami decided that they did want to change things up and experiment a little bit with it. And it is a good, refreshing stage. It's definitely not going to be as good as any decent shmup out there. Before a level, it gives you something slightly different to do while still feeling like the same game. And I love, again, all the colorful backgrounds, the train moving through. For the year this came out, it does look pretty good, and it definitely holds up really well. I think all of these Konami games from the 90s that were in 2D hold up much better than a lot of their 3D work did in the mid to late 90s. You'll see here we're shooting down the cows out of this different airships, and I love all the animations as well. Everything is really well thought out. The cows fall out of the ship and kind of hang over the side basket there. And now we have what could only be described as a half cow, half Shrek balloon as our boss. This game is definitely strange. Like I said, everything about it is weird. You're playing as an anthropomorphic cow, you turn into a steak, you have this giant balloon here. It's definitely part and parcel of just being from a cartoon, because there's a lot of source material to work with, and the maker of Cowboys of Moo Mesa apparently was involved heavily in the development of this game, so I'm sure he made sure that a lot of the iconography and other things that would be associated with the animated series are included in this game. And it definitely moves around a lot of sprites. I mean, that giant, I'm assuming it's half spider, half scorpion with lobster claws. I mean, who really knows what they are? It looks great. It's filling the screen. You have that parallax scrolling in the background with the cloud layer, and everything's moving at a full 60 frames a second. So it's definitely a game that is worth checking out. I love how it looks. I love how it plays. I love how it sounds. I will say that it does get quite difficult, and it can be very punishing on your first playthrough, because for all the bosses, memorization is so important. The actual stages themselves really aren't that hard, but as you get further into the game, you're going to start seeing some mini-bosses that are going to take a lot of time and a lot of your energy up. But really, it's just the boss battles that are going to make you continue time and time again. And you'll see there that Dakota was a steak. He even has a little flag in it with his initial on it, and that's definitely an unfortunate thing to happen to a cow. But if you like running guns, you'll definitely like this game, and you even get little sections here where we have to button mash to swim up this waterfall while avoiding skulls and cans, and I think there was a boot in there somewhere. So it definitely plays around with the genre just enough so when you're thinking, God, I've just been running right and shooting for a little bit too long now, the game's smart about it and gives you something else to do, which I always really appreciate. Even all the background's really well thought out. You have that skull mountain there, and you have these giant cactuses in the distance. You can clearly tell Konami had a ton of fun making this game, because all the different details involved in it are just a lot of fun. You'll see here now we have this giant snake sub-boss, and towards the last area of the game, the level definitely gets very long, and I don't want to say it starts to get a little bit boring, but you can definitely tell that the game was about ready to end around this time until you get to the very last bit of it. But if you like run and gun games, if you like shmups, you're definitely going to enjoy Cowboys of Moo Mesa. It's definitely a strange game, but I really like strange games on the channel, and this is one that I don't really hear mentioned much whatsoever. I always hear about Ninja Baseball Batman being a strange beat-em-up run and gun style game, but I don't even hear this game mentioned at all, which is really unfortunate because it is quite good. Short of that, if you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. I'd love chatting with you guys. If you can do me a huge favor, like and subscribing, that notification bell definitely helps us out. We'll be back next Sunday with an episode of the Unported playlist, and I can definitely promise that it's going to involve a lot fewer cows than we had this week. But thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys next time. Bye bye.